Quick Sills! We are now jockeying for position. If you are following your favorite NFL team, you're now coming down the home stretch. And now you're going for the win. There's no more, it's the early part of the season, mid part of the season. Hey, we'll play better in the next couple of weeks. You're running out of weeks and excuses. If you're not trending up right now, you've got a problem. I was listening to the Eagles head coach in his press conference today. He's a weird guy on press conferences. Guy asked him a question about motion, which is a legitimate one. Yeah, I'll gladly answer this question. I've answered it 5 times, but I'll gladly answer the question. Hey, Nick, you don't have to try to win every interview and every press conference. That guy tries to win every press conference because of the shitty one he had at the very beginning. Dude, it's all good. You don't have to try to win every press conference. And you don't have to justify answering the same question 10 times. You could actually tell those Philadelphia media people to pound sand if you felt like it. But I do think it's in the best interest of the Eagles and Bob Lang and all the PR people that when you're going through some bumpy roads here, that the head coach wins the press conference. That means bullshit artists to me. I want you to win games, not the press conference. You don't have to answer every freaking question with a justification around it. I mean, I don't know how many questions today he was asked. I answered this, but I'll gladly do it again. Hey, Nick, then why put the asterisk on it? I mean, he's got the weirdest press conferences. Boy, I'll tell you something. One thing is definitely something that I've learned in 2.5 years, going on 3 years now covering your Eagles. The Eagles like to win the court of public opinion. Holy cow. They do not want you to have any advantage, nor do they want you to know anything. I mean, yeah, Joseph, he's awkward. He's awkward because they put him in an awkward position. Nick Sirianni is so much not himself at press conferences. He's more like himself on the sidelines. Honestly, it's like he's being directed. Shit, if you're being directed in press conferences, how do we know you're not being directed on the sidelines? There is so much strict control in that organization. It goes to how you even do press conferences. I don't know. That's just a takeaway I had. And it seems to be every one of them. Hey, I've answered this question 5 times, but I'll gladly do it again. Hey, man, that's a backhanded slap. That's a backhanded slap to the guy who asked the question. By the way, I'll say it one more time to you. This is not about records. This is about matchups. The records almost are insignificant. Let me give you an example of that. I was listening to Tone and Rob on Sports Take, and they went down the line of Seattle and said this. Well, Seattle's got mediocre offensive numbers. Well, let me put that in perspective to you, what I'm talking about. Seahawks offense is ranked 20th, 324 yards per game, 325. Eagles defense is ranked 22nd, 353. That's a matchup that favors Seattle. Where are you coming under the guise that you're better than Seattle when you haven't proven it all year on defense? Seattle's better than your defense. They're better than you. They're better than you. That's a matchup. That's why when you start talking about records, where do you come off thinking your defense is going to stop Seattle, which is a mediocre offense? You're less than mediocre. You're the worst, especially over the last month. Where are you coming up with that advantage because of your offense that hasn't been clicking all year? I mean, I'm giving you who you are. Seattle is just as good as the Philadelphia Eagle defense when it comes to their offense. And you don't have anybody to cover their wideouts. Not to sound corny, but thank you. By the way, as an overall 53 man, who's better? Philly. So the coaching staff favors Seattle. The defense is a push. This is all on the offense? Okay. Like I said yesterday, Jalen Hurts, I need more from you. I need more from you. Because nobody else, when you take on Seattle Monday night, is going to help you. There's no magic guy coming out of the locker room. There's no more people to be signed. There's no more scheming. There's only one guy that can right the ship. By the way, this is not going to be a gloom and doom show here. There's going to be some positive here, okay? I promise you. Okay? Hey, Ho! Go right ahead, man. You're right. Look at Ho talking about a 10-3 record with two teams that just smashed you over the head with a mallet. And he's talking like he's good. You were just annihilated. Annihilated. That 10-3 record was destroyed by two teams. You were not competitive. How about this? I'm 10-3, and in two of the losses, we weren't competitive. And one of the losses is the shitty Jets. Sounds like things are working out well there, guy. Don't let the house fall in. Wow. This guy has more faith in the record than the actual team. I'll say it one more time. You're not winning a Super Bowl in 2023-24. You're not, unless something changes drastically, like injuries to the Cowboys and Niners and Ravens and Chiefs. Unless something like that happens, you're not getting there. Now, could that happen? Absolutely, especially with the history of San Francisco. That's why this thing isn't over. How? That's why it's not over. Again, it's not about, this is not a league of records. This is a league of matchups week to week. How? And Ho knows what's up. It's all good, man. Appreciate Ho being Ho. Oh, man. I can't wait to get into this little nugget here that we just happened to dig up here, because yesterday we dug up the fact that half your coaching staff is in first-year responsibilities in their new jobs. How? That's the last time I'll do that. I'd like to point this little thing up. Okay. Give me the overall sense. Hey, look at LJ. Seattle's a tomato can. Then what's your defense? A crushed tomato can? Hey, LJ, the Eagle defense is Spider Rico. Spider Rico is your D coordinator. Spider Rico. Here, Godfrey just asked the question, how's Seattle going to beat? I'll tell you what. I saw Seattle play against Dallas and San Francisco. I thought they played them better than you played them. Am I wrong? I thought they played Dallas and San Francisco better than you did. They were more competitive. Were they not? They were more competitive. Shit, they almost beat Dallas. They hung right there with San Francisco. You guys were destroyed. And one of those games was at home. Destroyed. We're going to kill this team Monday. I sure hope so. We got a topic for that too, my friends. Here we go. How many people believe that Jalen Hurts is regressing as a passer? I got some numbers to back this up. I think he is. Not all his fault. How many people believe he's regressing? See, what you don't want to do right now is you don't want to start that conversation like you did with Wentz. And you're going to fight me today. You're going to fight me today on it like you did on Wentz. Till one day you had an epiphany and you woke up and you all flip-flopped on him. You don't want to do that now. I'm not saying you should. I'm just pointing out a crossroads. If there's a crossroads Monday for Nick Sirianni, we're getting there for Hurts. Remember, he don't have a gigantic sample size of greatness. He's had one less than average year, one spectacular year, one okay year. Who is he? Remember, you're not as good as one year and you're not as bad as the other year. So is this what he is? I can't answer that. I don't know. I'm not a fortune teller, so I don't know. Okay? Is Jalen Hurts regret? Let me point something out to you here. So theoretically, in the Cowboy game, he targeted 3 dudes. I think Zacchaeus had 1 catch, so really, but he targeted 3 guys. He targeted AJ, Devontae, and Goddard. Dak targeted 8. And I'll throw this at you. So Kenny Gainwell, DeAndre Swift, Quez Watkins, did they get any targets? Quez Watkins, Julio Jones, Zacchaeus all played 52 snaps. Katera and Stoll also had 0 targets. Do you know how many targets Quez, Jones, and Zacchaeus had playing 52 snaps? 1. Swift had none. I mean, it's the Cowboy game. And you're not using all your weapons? Where are we going here? I thought this kid was supposed to be evolving, and you were supposed to be helping him. I mean, Dak targeted 8. There's a prime example. You're holding the ball. Hey, you know why he's holding the ball 5 seconds? Because he's only looking for 2 dudes. And when you cover those 2 dudes, coordinators now know that. Here's the way you beat Philly. Cover the 2 dudes. Make the 3rd guy beat you. He can't. And when you don't have a healthy Dallas Goedert in the game, he doesn't have a 3rd guy to go to. Here's something else that's weird. So DeAndre Swift's on pace for 46 catches. You would say that's pretty damn good. That's pretty impressive. averaging 5 yards a play. You're not buying it if you're a coordinator. That's not what they're doing. It's a decoy. Coordinators go, they throw to him very seldom when it comes to really trying to create big yards. It's a decoy. They got decoys all over the field. They want to get it to two guys. Now, look, there's a part of me that goes, Sills, I mean, it's Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. Absolutely. But if you're not spreading that football around and you're not running the ball and you're not doing your RPOs and all that, you're hampering those dudes too. Those guys are having fabulous years. They're going to have another fabulous year. Fabulous season. Those guys are going to get their numbers. How come Hurts looks worse? How come the offense looks worse? How come you're hearing players say the words predictability? Teams have figured you out. You have till Monday to ride it. Yeah, I know. Hey, see, he has caught that one target from our punter. Oh, that's right. I forgot. So really Hurts only targeted 3 guys. Thank you, Maniac. I had forgotten that. The punter threw it. Oh, yes, that's right. Has Jalen Hurts regressed as a passer? Yes or no? You know why he's regressing? Because the offense hasn't evolved. Like we said yesterday. When you start to really dissect the numbers, he's horrible on first down. He's targeting 2 dudes, 3 really. Okay? You're not helping him. And I hear folks all over the place in every platform saying, I think they'll write this. What gives, there's 2 things that I have not given and I will not give this team the benefit of the fact or benefit of the doubt. That is coaching. You don't get the benefit of the doubt in coaching or your defense with me. And here, you go into this Seattle game with a defense that can hang, okay, with the Seattle offense, kind of, which is not very good. And this has got to come down to an offense who, heading into week 15, still doesn't have an identity. Help me out on this. He has time to throw, so that's not the excuse. You know what he's actually doing, Pickin? He's actually hurting the offensive line when it comes to getting pressures and sacks because he's only targeting 2 guys, 3. I mean, the numbers speak to, how about this? You see, the one thing about the NFL, and you're talking numbers, statistics are trends in that sport. And I'll tell you why, and I'll show you why. Some of you go like this all the time, and you say the dumbest shit all the time to me. Well, those are just stats. Well, if you go to one play 10 more times than the next play, is that a favorite play in the Eagle playbook or not? Use your common sense. Stay with me here, folks. When you start running certain plays that Jalen likes, or Swift likes, or Brian Johnson likes, and you go to that play 35% of the time in your offensive playbook, and you continue to do that, does that not become a trend on what that team's identity? That's an identity play. Here's an identity play. The brotherly shove. That's an identity play. Okay? What's the one play this year That's an identity play outside of the brotherly shove. Last year, it was the RPO. What is your signature play in that team this year? This is where you find your identity. You know what the 49er one was with Jerry Rice? That absolutely sexy and brilliant slant pass he ran. Holy cow. He was just magic on film watching that thing. Watching Rice run the slant, my God, spread you out, Bill Walsh, and that guy ran that slant pass and no one could defend it. It was just beauty to watch on film when you watch that play. Off tackle play with Adrian Peterson. Everyone's got an identity play. What's the Eagles? They haven't found one yet? You had one last year. Get this. Just to show you, hey, picking the AJ slant play is pretty good too. Absolutely. That's a great play. Coordinators see that now. How do you think AJ's played the last couple? I thought Stephon Gilmore did a great job on him. I thought, didn't he cause a fumble too? I thought Gilmore did a great job. I thought, actually, if you think about it, remember you guys were telling me you had better corners than the Cowboys? That's not the case. Cowboys outplayed your corners. And I still think Devontae and AJ had fair games. Look at your target. Julio Jones, Quez Watkins, Zacchaeus played 52 snaps and 0 targets. Both tight ends that were backups had 0 targets. Swift had no targets. And you're expected to beat the Cowboys with 2 dudes? I think Goddard had 4. I mean, do you really expect them to beat the Cowboys with Jalen Hurts and 2 dudes? You have not shown me anything in 2 years that makes me look at your offense and goes like this. Wow, that's a new element. Wow, that's great. How about Jalen Hurts out in the open in the perimeter passing? How about him throwing the ball on the run? Why not try to develop that? Can you imagine Jalen Hurts in an RPO type scenario out in the perimeter going right and throwing the ball on the run? Or can he do it? I don't know. You haven't really done anything to develop the kid in any other form whatsoever. And you know what you've done, which is the cardinal sin in developing a young quarterback? Why in the world would you have a young quarterback that came into the NFL knowingly having issues when it came to reading defenses, having him drop back in the middle of the field, when you know full well, even the great ones, from Brady, Montana, Russell Wilson, all of them, you start with half the field, then you move to the middle of the field, then you see all of the field. That's how you develop quarterbacks. Peyton Manning was developed that way. You would, instead of having a guy, if you can't roll, you go on the hash mark. You drop back on the hash on the right side, short side of the field. Every coordinator in his right mind knows that is how you develop a guy. You understand, when you have a quarterback that has deficiencies in development of reading a defense, you give him half the field to manage. Because you know why? You have the advantage because you have the sideline. You're actually playing 12 versus 11. Because when in doubt, throw it out of bounds. You're throwing an out pattern, guy doesn't catch it, it goes out of bounds. It's incomplete. When you're in the middle of the field, it's a turnover. Okay? It's common sense. Just common sense. Here, let's put this into a funnel here now and get to the point here. Come Monday night, they're going to do the same shit over and over again. And now you got Pete Carroll to deal with. You think that game's going to be a layup? You're out of your mind. They're fighting for their life. Seattle. They got way better coaches than you. You don't even want to take a look at their coaching staff. They got experience at every level. Remember something. You went and got your coordinator off of his staff, and he was a special assistant to the head coach. He wasn't even a position coach in Seattle. I want you to think about that for a second. You hired a coach off the Seattle staff that wasn't even a position coach and made him D-coordinator. Think about that. This guy wasn't even elevated from a position coach. He was a special assistant to the coach, and he gave his opinion. He wasn't really coaching anybody. I thought about that last night. Well, he must have been the linebacker. No. He wasn't a position coach in Seattle last year. Birds goes, wow, I thought the DC. No, absolutely not. You think Sean Desai was going to be the defensive coordinator in Seattle with Carroll? That ain't happening. Pete don't hire people like that. He doesn't hire guys with no experience as being a coordinator. Now, Desai had some background of being a coordinator in, I think, Chicago for a year, but that's not good enough for Carroll. Okay? Pete ain't hiring that. This guy was a specialist. Basically, he was an advisor. You hired an advisor to be your coordinator. Woo! Hey, okay. You know, they do good hires in Philadelphia. I guess. Did you ever question that? At least when you were going to hire Fangio, this guy's got massive experience and quite a resume. You hired a guy who was Pete's go-to guy, I guess, on a question. What do you think, Sean? Thanks. Okay, we'll take that into consideration. What do you think here? Right, who's the D coordinator up there? He's been there a bit with him. I think he. Oh, by the way, Gus Bradley and Dan Quinn. What do you think those guys all were? They were at the Legion of Boom. Dan Quinn, Pete Carroll, and Gus Bradley all were the people that made the Legion of Boom in Seattle. They were all on the same coaching staff, those guys here. And yeah, I mean, what'd you expect? That Dan Quinn took a team to a Super Bowl. And some of you go, well, he's not a very good head coach. Okay, well, he did the same thing your boy did. He coached a team to the Super Bowl, the Atlanta Falcons. Lost the lead. I get it. I never said he was a great coach. You say your guy is. Who is the defensive coordinator, Seattle Seahawks? Yeah, that's right. It's Clint Hurt. Clint Hurt's a heck of a coordinator, man. I like him. I don't really think they're great, though, because they still need some help in the personnel. They need more help. Hey, Big Picken's right. Dan Quinn is why Dallas is competing. Yeah, he took over for Mike Nolan. Mike Nolan didn't know what to do with that defense. Dan Quinn goes in there and turns that. Look at what he's done in 2 years. He's turned the Cowboy defense into a championship defense. And MG2. Okay, MG2 goes, Clint Hurt is trash. What's Sean Desai? MG2. Okay, I'll agree. Clint Hurt is trash. What's Sean Desai? MG2, I'm talking to you. What's Sean Desai if Clint Hurt is trash? What's Desai? He's trash too? Fair enough. Touche. Uh, okay. All right. All right. Now we're going to do something here that is going to make you feel better, I hope. And this may be Dr. Sills here to the rescue for therapy for some of you. Eagles currently 3-1 versus head coaches with Super Bowl wins. Hey, Latino Inferno, you ain't going to Super Bowl this year. You're not getting to the NFC title game this year. Book it. You're not. You don't have a good enough team. You don't have a good enough team. Okay? You don't have a good enough team. Yeah, you're one and done. Yeah. It's over. Not happening. I have not seen one thing that makes me have confidence that you can. And you know what's crazy? Let me really say that. Do I think the Philadelphia Eagles still have a shot? Yes. Why? They've beaten some good teams. There's still the war of attrition with 4 games. Can things change? Shit, things have changed in 2 weeks. You went from the 1 seed to a wild card team. Yes. I'm going to back up on that. I'm going to back up on that because I still think there's a lot of football left. Okay? I'm going to back up on that. I will. I'll back up on that. I know better. Because this thing could change in 2 weeks again. And the Eagles could look like the best team in the league. Or could they? So I will. San Francisco loses one guy. That thing's a question mark. Here's Mike. Watch this. Would you not agree with me that here are the question marks on the 3 teams? If San Francisco gets an injury, who are they? Dallas, do you trust them? Still, you want to hear something? And I mean this with all my heart. I don't think they're beating Buffalo this week. I do not believe the Cowboys are beating Buffalo. I don't think there's a chance in hell they go up there and win. Not a chance. Not a chance. No way. Buffalo's going to win that game. They're going to win that game. Okay? I still think they win that thing. All right. And the Eagles, do they have a good enough defense? And can they get any kind of continuity going on offense? You know what really sucks about the Eagles? We're not even talking about personnel. You know what we're talking about with the Philadelphia Eagles? Getting your shit together. The Eagles haven't got their shit together all year. Take that into a conversation for a second. You're talking about confidence with the Cowboys. Can they go and run through the tape? And can they win and continue to win against good teams and beat good teams? Niners, there's always a health issue with them. Eagles, this year it's getting their shit together. Can you get your shit together? Player confidence is very shaky in Philly. Get this. This is the really self-inflicted conversation that you have about your Eagles. You want to hear this? Their issues are within. Okay? Not exterior. There's personnel issues on defense. We see that. But the Eagle problems are within. It's internal. That's the worst you can have. That's the worst kind of obstacle you can have is internal conflict. And I mean by conflict, play calling, design, approach, technique. That's internal sabotage almost. I mean, the Eagles have to be more concerned about what they're doing than who they're playing. Now, look, San Francisco and can I tell you this? I think that all kind of came to a head versus the Niners. And what I really think, can I tell you, and I mean this with all my heart, I think that 49er loss, cost you the Cowboy game. That's why people keep doing this. Why the poor effort? Because you know what? I think the football team and the coaching staff were shocked. And it carried over on how they approached, performed, coached, prepared. I think it carried over. And hey, that's right, Cody. Hey, if winning becomes contagious, you can lose and have that thing carry over. I see it all the time. Momentum is ups and downs. And remember, in the NFL, you don't have a lot of time. Shit, the fan base, Tone, Rob, all those guys last week in Cowboy Week, they didn't get over that shit until Thursday. And not him. Everybody in Philly. I'm talking the Whip, the Inquirer, national media. They were still talking about the Niner ass beating. That didn't feel like a Cowboy game last week. It's because that ass beating carried over. You know how it carried over? An approach. Because what happens is, got to remember something about professional athletes. They're the most insecure people on the planet. And when things have been going so well for Philly for 2.5 years, and you started feeling things kind of unraveling like a tidal wave, and when the tsunami hit in Philly against San Fran, it washed away all of your confidence. And it carried over until the Cowboy game. I mean it. You never let one loss. And remember what I told you what the record was. Teams that played the Niners the following week were 1-26 because of the physicality they put on you. 1-26. That's a thing. That's a thing. Okay? So, here's the second topic. Are the Eagles' issues long-lasting or short-term? Are they long-lasting or are they short-term? Long-lasting. Long-lasting. If we lose this game, it's likely long-lasting. Possibly short-term. Devin, that's not the conviction I'm looking for. Here on our show, Devin, don't straddle the fence on your answers. Peter, that's straddling the fence. Depends on the coaches? No. Answer the question. Is this long-lasting or short-term? The issues with the team. You can't fix coaching in 4 weeks. Short-term. Long-term with loss. I don't know until we try going back to running and that's not happening. They're not going to install RPOs in week 15. Stop with that. Fun fact, Dallas hasn't lost 2 straight games in over 2 years and won a road game after losing to San Francisco. Panic button if we lose Monday. Ends Monday. Short term, Howie will fix this. You mean like he did this year? Hey, Tony, if Howie Roseman was the executive of the year a year ago, he's the executive failure of the year this year. In a variety of reasons. For the 8+ year he had a year ago, F in 23. Wait, D- because of Carter. We had a good year for a yes. But another meaningless year. LJ is shook. He needs to accept the tsunamis here. No. Always remember something, Shooter. LJ just likes to argue. There's nothing really behind it. He just likes to argue. It's okay. He argues and insults. Don't worry, I got a whole family of him. You put him at the little kiddie table with the sippy cup and the mac and cheese, and you give him a little piece of ham. You put a little hat on him, and it's all good. And then you go over to the grown-up table and you sit down, and everybody has their dinner. You got to go over to LJ every now and then, and you got to kind of give him one of those Twizzler things, and or Bink. And so don't worry, it's all good. So remember that, Shooter. That's how you treat LJ. Just remember, he sits at the little kiddie table. That's okay. I know how to handle him. He's easy. No, not too hard. It's all good. Here's my take on this. This is a long-lasting problem that I've been chronicling since week 2. When everybody was waving banners and how great the team is. And Seth has been really, but you know what Seth got caught up in? He got caught up in going over to IP, doing our post-game show, and everyone saying, like LJ, the record. And Seth knows better. Weekly matchups have nothing to do with the record. They have everything to do with matchups, like I pointed out to you. I love how everyone goes, hey, we're going to kill Seattle. Why? You got a worse defense than Seattle's mediocre offense. You think you're stopping them? Why would you think that? Because you're the Eagles? Give me a break. No, because our offense is going to put the RPO back in. No, they're not. Dude, you are who you are right now. I think the number one thing that the problem that you have with folks following the team now, you don't want to accept their identity. They don't have one. You don't want to accept who they are. They're a 10-3 team going nowhere. Right now. Now, hear me out. You got 4 games left. What could change in that? Everything. But you got to get your shit together first. You got to get your shit together. Here. Is Monday a seminal moment for Nick Sirianni as a head coach, do you think? Hey, wait a minute. Is Drew Lock playing on Monday night? Is he playing Monday night? Is it Drew Lock? Oh my God, I hope it is. To be determined. Probably so then. Don't lose to a backup. Because then you got major problems. From the top down. Here's going to be my take to you. This thing's long lasting. And if that Seattle team beats you with Drew Lock or even Geno Smith, with a mediocre football team and you walk up there where you don't win a lot and you get beat, that's a seminal moment for Jalen Hurts. See, Jalen and Nick are tied at the hip. You know, behind the scenes, it's Howie. You see, Howie's pretty slick. When they gave that contract to Wentz, they tied Wentz and Doug at the hip. So Howie's tying Nick and Jalen at the hip. But it's really Howie that's tied to Jalen. He's the one that gave him the money. It wasn't Nick that gave him the money. It wasn't Doug that gave Wentz the money. It was Howie and Jeffrey Lurie that gave the money. Remember that. Doug didn't give him that dough. Nick didn't give Jalen that dough. That's why those coaches are expendable. This is a seminal moment Monday. Can I tell you what this feels like? I'll tell you this. I don't know if I've ever felt this way about it. I've never felt worse about a 10-3 team in NFL history or me covering the league. I've never felt worse about a 10-3 team than this thing. It is a very unhappy 10-3. Is that fair? Shit. I look at the 8-5 Chiefs and go, well, they're underachieving. I look at the 10-3 Eagles and go, what's their problem? What's your problem? Super Bowl hangover? Okay, I guess that's a thing. Reaching, Dan, we're just injured. It happens. You're injured? No, your faith in Dean was a disaster. Your 3 cut linebackers you have are disasters. Hey, when you're telling me that Zach Cunningham has been a pleasant surprise, you're really aiming pretty low right now. When you tell me Zach Cunningham is your best performer at linebacker, okay. And then I look at San Francisco's backers, you might want to shoot a little higher. I mean, hey, Zach Cunningham has been good. Hoss, he's nowhere in the league of Greenlaw. Greenlaw's a really good player. He's a tone setter. Okay? LJ, yeah, you beat the Chiefs. I just said they're underachieving. Great. Congratulations. And the Jets beat you. Isn't that crazy? And you were murdered. Jets beat you and murdered in 8 quarters. How was it? Hey, how would you like to have this on your schedule? Well, the Cowboys, they got beat by Arizona. And the Eagles, out of 8 quarters, played 7 non-competitive quarters against the 2 leading contenders to win the NFC. Which one would you rather have? And one of those were the Cowboys that made you have 4 quarters of non-competitive football. Who covers DK Metcalf? What's the other guy's name? Tyler Lockett? Who's covering them guys? Do they have? Please tell me they don't have a tight end. Okay? When you play against Seattle on Monday night, who's covering those 2 wideouts? Thank God. Big play Slay, he's your only option probably. I think Metcalf eats him up. Geno has time to throw the ball. By the way, that's another thing we looked at. Your pass rush this year, is as bad. I mean, defensively, you are the worst defensive football team at getting home on third down. You're the worst, which means what? High percentage throws for opposing quarterbacks with wide open windows. The thing that I told you, what was the game plan somebody gave me? I talked to Dave Wonstadt. Here, I asked him how you beat the Eagle defense, and this is what he said. The pass defense is the first thing you go after, so you don't open up a game plan running the ball against them. You're immediately going to throw, because why? They're going to give you passing lanes. Get this. You don't make an opposing offense work for anything when it comes to the passing game. Why would I have to work at running the ball when that's the only thing you're decent at? I'm going to attack the weakest link on your team. You give wide open passing lanes, quick hitches, 10-yard passes. You play so far off the ball, you can make average wideouts look better. And that's a fundamental thought process that's not changed in 2.5 years, and it's not going to change Monday night. All of a sudden, you think you're going to start playing press coverage against Metcalf and Tyler Lockett? You're not. And when you're not getting home, remember I said this earlier in the year, the volume of pressure is so dramatically down. I got to tell you, the only guy that's really here, can I tell you who the MVP of your football team is this year? There's two dudes. It's Brown and Reddick. Reddick's on pace for 14.5 sacks, and you'd never know it. 14.5 sacks. Did I write that down? So wait a minute. He's on pace for 14.5 sacks. He had 16 last year. You got a guy that's got 30 sacks in 2 years, and your defense is worse this year? He's going to have 30 sacks in 2 years of play. That's phenomenal. That's all pro. It's insanity. But look at the guys behind him. Sweat's on pace for 8.5. Carter 5.5. Davis 3.5. Last year you had 5 guys with 10+ sacks. Not even remotely close. So when you got the volume of pressure down, the volume of getting home down, and you play the style of football, what is the offensive coordinator going to do? Their pass rush is tired. They're not getting home. They don't have depth. Here, it's so here. I could close my eyes. What are you going to do? I'm going to run at Reddick all game because he's played the majority of the snaps. No, I'm going to run at, Sweat, because he's played the majority of the snaps. And I can run at both of them now because they both can't tackle. So you're weak at your perimeter. You can't set the edge any longer. Okay? Now, here's the key. You have played against 2 of the best offensive tackles, left tackles in the game the last 2 weeks. Does Seattle have the same personnel? No. This is why this is a seminal game. You can't get pushed around by Seattle. You get pushed around by Seattle, you get outcoached by Seattle, Seattle outplays you, you got a long-lasting problem on your football team that will result in carrying over to the 2024 season. Because what will happen is you still got deficiencies on that side of the ball, and you're going to play a tougher schedule. You're going to be in the same shit you were, but more predictable. This is a real big moment Monday. This is a big moment Monday. You know what this kind of reminds me of a bit? It's kind of like when your 2017 team won the Super Bowl, you came back the following year, and it was kind of like underwhelming. Here's the other one. I'm going to throw quick passes at you on Monday. Absolutely. I'm going to do crossing routes because your backers can't handle it. And I'm going to do a ton of crossing routes with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Here's why Tyler Lockett. How many people think that A.J. Brown, and you're going against Pete Carroll, and you're going against a defensive-minded guy who doesn't have – Pete Carroll doesn't have the personnel, but neither did Washington. This is going to be like the Washington game on Monday. You understand this. This is going to be like Washington. They didn't have the personnel either. They didn't have the personnel to hang with you. They had one wideout, kind of two with Dotson. Okay, they kind of had a decent back. Offensive line was horrible. The kid was on pace to have 90 sacks this year, Sam Howell. This is going to be a lot like the Washington game. And you had Ron Rivera, and then you had Jack Del Rio. You got Pete Carroll. He knows this. He knows this. Okay? They're going to run crossing routes, quick slants. And let me ask you here. Let me go here. How many people think A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are better than Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf? I heard everybody from the Fanatic to our channel to IP Inquirer all say that they think the Eagles have the advantage there. How many people think you have the better players there? I'll show you how dumb this is. For sure, Mike says. Tone says the Eagles have the better, or Seahawks have the better room. The Eagles have the two great wideouts. Here's why Seattle's better. Seattle will have more impact with their wideouts because your defense is worse than theirs. That's the matchup. You're not going to be able to cover those guys. So you're going to see better games from those guys. This is all going to come down to who's playing quarterback and who's healthy at that position for Seattle. If Geno finds any rhythm, they're going to beat you Monday night because you can't stop them. You have to understand something, folks, and I want you to come to a reality here. Nothing's going to change Monday. There's nothing that will change. Nothing's changing. The environment around the league is the only thing that's going to change. Injuries. You're now in the part of the league and in the season where the war of attrition is going to come down to determining who's going to win the Super Bowl. Everybody's identity is set. Whether you have one or not, get ready. We're here. You're running out of lane. This is who you are. The only thing that will change around you is the environment. Nothing else is going to change. So wait a minute. You want to know the first sign of having panic in the Eagle room? All of a sudden, we watch them do a ton of jet sweeps, and they start throwing that into the mix on Monday night, creating more opportunity for more people to put the ball on the carpet, which they've been horrific at. Also, Seattle has a really good rookie wideout. I know he is. Now, again, it's going to come down to the health. You can't start adding shit heading into week 15 with 3 games or 4 games, 3 games after Monday night. You're going to start adding new components? That's a sign of panic also. Dude, the only guy who is going to save this and put this team, how about this? Not save it so much. Put the team back on the rails. Seattle's a team you should put it on the rails. You're better than them. I don't know if you're internally better right now. I think they need to simplify things and go back to the basics. Right. Shit, man, I'd find a 7 plays Jalen loves to run the most, and you can beat them with that. Hey, you know what's crazy? Do you remember what was the game that Lane was doing this? What was that game where he just said, and you ran the ball like 100 million times? Was it the Viking game that he did that in? Let's just keep running that bitch. Keep running it. Keep running it. Keep running it. Was that the Viking game he did that in? Okay. And what happened with the Vikings? They couldn't stop it. That's what you need to do Monday night. 5 plays. Get it to AJ. Get the yak yards going again. Make Swift part of something. Let me show you something on Swift. Now, I think these numbers are right. I think last year Miles Sanders had 233 carries also. I think it's really weird. Maybe I'm wrong, Tone, but I think like Sanders had something like maybe 265, 235, something like that. Swift's on pace for 233 carries. 1,075, basically 1,100 yards. 4.6 a carry. 46 catches. Why are you using him? You didn't use him at all last game against Dallas. Why? You got an 1,100-yard back with almost 5 yards a carry, and you're not using him? Why? Why doesn't somebody at that press conference ask Nick Sirianni, you got a running back who's got one of the higher averages in the league. He's not like he's doing 3.9 a carry, which isn't horrible. He's doing 4.6 a carry. He's got almost 50 catches, or he's on pace for 50 catches. He's on pace for 1,100 yards. And you're not using him. If I'm DeAndre Swift, I would never want to come back to Philly. Well, what do you have to worry about that anyway? They're not going to pay him. Hey, so here, I'll tell you flat out here, DeAndre Swift is going to be in Buffalo. Guy's going to get 1,100 yards, 4.6 a carry. He catches the ball well. Dude, this guy's going to have a hot market. And he's in a contract year, like Miles was. The difference is he can do more than Miles. My problem is the 275 yards rounded. That means he's only doing 5.8 a catch, which means they're decoys. Those are not productive catches, is my point. That's not a productive, those aren't productive. Look at Christian McCaffrey's numbers. That's production. Those catches are kind of like I said, they're decoys to get the ball. Defensive coordinators know this now. Swift's a decoy in the passing game. To some extent, so is Goddard. That's why he bitched earlier. I'm disappointed in my role in the offensive passing game. Right? Those were his words. These other guys. So if you're a coordinator, this is how I look at the Eagle offense. I'm putting a game plan together. Okay. I know that they're going to Goddard. I know that they're going. Isn't it funny? Every time they get Goddard and Swift established, the offense looks better. Because you know why? You're going off trend and tendencies. Just like Mike McCarthy did last Sunday. You never go off tendencies. They stick to their guns, man. And it's to detriment. RPOs, wheel routes with Swift, AJ and Smith, slants, run. Yeah, you sound like the 22 offense there, Q. Q, you want to hear something too? Kenny Gainwell and Swift had no targets in the Cowboy game. And he's still on pace for 50 catches. I don't get it. I don't get it. Oh, wait, I do get it. I'm answering my own question like I tell Tone. I do get it. I do. Now, check this out. A.J. Brown is going to be the first wide receiver in Philadelphia Eagle history with 100 catches. He's going to end up with 118, somewhere in there. 1645, 9 touchdowns, 14 yards play. Fantastic season. Devontae, 90 catches, 1186, 8 TDs, 13. You go to Goddard, 55 catches, missed a ton of games again, 575 and 3. By the way, I'm done with Goddard too. I'm done with guys who miss 25 or 26% of their season. Come on, dude. You got to be healthier, man. I'd rather play with a lesser guy like Jake Ferguson, who's going to be there week to week, than a guy who's going to miss 4 critical games. And maybe miss a Cowboy game or a 49er game. That could cost me home field. As good as Goddard is, he is not as reliable as Zach Ertz was. And I personally think I'd rather have Goddard. But it comes to a point when availability also has to be part of the conversation. You see, this is not like college. You pay a guy and his availability. Where is he? You start there. He's in the league because he's great already. You don't start with, well, that player's better. No, is he available? That's why Penny doesn't play. Penny's better than Gainwell, but he's not reliable. Can't block in the passing game, and he's always hurt. That's why, and you know why he's on the Eagle team? To keep him away from Dallas and San Francisco. That's why he's not there. He's on the roster for one reason, to keep him away from other folks. There's no other explanation. And there's no such thing as, well, I'm going to bring him out when it's sunshine. And we're going to bring him out in the NFC title. So all of a sudden, you're not going to play a guy all year. You're going to activate him for the playoffs. Sounds like a plan. Okay. Seals, he broke his arm. Philly, he's missed games every year he's been in the league. He's missed 25% of his football his entire career. Hey, you're right. It's a forearm. Year before that, what was it? Shoulder? Year before that, what was it? Knee? Year before that, Jesus, criminy guy. He's injury prone. You can't build a solid offense around people who are sporadically in your game plan. You can't. You can't build a sales team when a guy decides to show up to work and not show up to work, or he's not there, he's not available. You can't run a network when a host decides to show up when he feels like it. Sometimes he doesn't. You have to have people who show up to work. Maddox is another one. Done with him. You need to move off that guy. He's a good player, Sills. Stop telling me that. Stop telling me Avonte Maddox is a good ball player when I never see him. Stop that. Seriously, stop that. He's a good player. I don't care. That's a theory. That's not an actuality. Man, you guys, this guy's good. I'm promising you. How is he good when he never plays? got to be available. This isn't college football. You got 100 guys. I'll tell you something about Sirianni. I'm going to make a comparison to you. You think Sirianni's more like Doug, Andy Reid, or Chip Kelly? If you had to make a comparison, who would you say he's closer to being? Doug, Andy, or Chip? None of the above. He's beneath even Chip. No, he's not. He's closer to Doug, but I still don't even like the comparison. He's closer to Doug. I don't see that at all. I think he's closer to Chip with a better bedside manner. Refusing to move off of tendencies, the predictability after the first couple of years of winning. Teams caught up with the Eagles. The only thing that, in my opinion, that Sirianni does better than Chip, he's got a better bedside manner, and he knows how to handle Howie or deal with Howie. That's it. I would never put him in Doug Peterson's category. Doug's a true players coach, and he's also a play caller, and he puts quality people around him. Okay. I mean, he's turning Jacksonville around. Jacksonville. Okay. Just saying here. First 2 years with Chip, what were his records? Just asking. What was Chip Kelly's first 2 years with the Eagles? Well, what were his first 2 years? In reality, he isn't like any of them. All of them are tremendously different. Okay? What were the first 2 years with Chip? 10-6? So he was 20-12 his first 2 years, regular season? He didn't have an 11-5 year in there somewhere? I thought he had an 11-5 year. I may have been wrong. Okay, so he was 20-12. Okay? He was 20-12. Let me ask you something here. Did you have a problem with him then, Chip Kelly? Did you think you had a good coach first 2 years in the league with Chip? Or did you guys flip-flop on him too? It's okay. I'm not ripping you for it. Just asking you. Did you think you had a good coach when he was 20-12? Or are you going to lie and deny, not say you thought you had a good coach? I never liked the guy. I did not like his philosophy. So when he was 20-12, people in Philly hated him. Tone hated him. Had success. And it caught up with him. It's a guy that was 20-12. Looked like the right hire. Third year, the predictability came in with Chip. He's very predictable. He's predictable at UCLA. Ever watch his teams? They're very predictable. Very predictable. By the way, I'm not telling you that Chip's better than Nick, because personally, I think Chip Kelly, he's a college coach. He ain't no NFL guy. And I would play for Sirianni over that guy any day, any night. Not saying that at all. I'm just saying the difference that you have here with Kelly is that what destroyed him was his bedside manner and the fact that he had too much. You never give a head football coach. It's never been a head football coach in the NFL total autonomy. That's an Eagle screw up. The owner of the Eagles screwed that up. Why would you give a college coach full say because you thought you were trying to find Pete Carroll and Jimmy Johnson again. Hey, man, that doesn't always work. The reason that Jimmy Johnson and Pete Carroll, why do you think they had the advantage over teams early in their coaching careers? Because they had recruited every kid from the first round to the 7th round, back then to the 12th round with Jimmy, to come play at Miami or come play at Southern Cal. Pete Carroll, that's why he knew Cam Chancellor. He knew Richard Sherman. He knew all these guys that you could take in latter rounds, but the only deficiency, because the NFL draft is flawed. If you're not 6'4", you're not going in the first round usually. Those coaches knew that. And sometimes they missed out on them. That's why Carroll and Jimmy both won national titles and Super Bowls. They had the advantage. And the Eagles thought they were going to duplicate that. Difference is that Chip Kelly was covered by the fact that Phil Knight and Nike can make any coach look good up there. Everybody looks good because of the resources. That's what made that, and he never won a national title. They were snowed by that, and they were thinking they were going to get the same result that they got in Southern Cal, in Seattle, Miami, and Dallas with Jimmy Johnson and Pete Carroll. That's why they were looking at Lincoln Riley. They were looking at Lincoln Riley because he can move the ball, and he's recruited the majority of these kids. Problem is, Lincoln Riley's never had a defense to save his life. Whether it was at Oklahoma or now at Southern Cal. He's the most overrated coach in the country. I see where they go. All right, let me take a time out here. Hey, don't forget, during this holiday time, our great friends at Hooters, man, want you to get those Santa Bucks, great stocking stuffers, $5 gift cards. The Hooter calendars are out. Got $100 in coupons in it. You can also go to the website when it comes to just going and getting the food, bringing it back to your home at hooterstogo.com. Also, right now we're giving away an opportunity for you to qualify for a chance to win yourself some merchandise and some tickets and some gift certificates. All you have to do is see that code word that Tone has thrown out. You email us at dansilioshow@gmail.com and you'll hear your name called on a football Monday. So good luck to you guys there. Don't forget also, hey, seafood Sundays, half price, snow crabs, buffalo shrimp, happy hours Monday through Friday, 6 items, $6. That's northeasttutors.com. Northeasttutors.com. We're going to talk to our friend Tone here in a couple minutes for the segment. Don't forget Jason Cole at 4:30. We will talk with him. I think Eric Allen is getting some run for the Hall of Fame. I'll explain. We'll do all that. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Eat chicken wings, buy Hooters things. Christmas is near. Shop, have a beer. Christmas shopping shouldn't be hard. Give your friends a Hooters gift card.
This year, stuff their stockings and yours too with a one-size-fits-all gift card. Buy a $25 Hooters gift card and receive a $5 Santa's bonus card. Make it Hooters for the holidays.
Eat chicken wings, buy Hooters things. Christmas is near. Gift cards are here. Good at Hooters everywhere now. Hooters gifts are always favored.